Hello, welcome again. This is Order of Operations and Evaluating Expressions. This is the second part of the first unit for Algebra 1A. We're going to be talking about order of operations and evaluating expressions insofar as what order of operations mean and what evaluating expressions mean. Okay, and they mean two different things, just so you know, in case someone couldn't take the suspense. Okay, order of operations, basically, what is the expression saying? Okay, I like to think of it that way. I actually saw someone post up a question. They actually posted this on Facebook, and this is really good. 40 plus 40 times 0 plus 1. And they said, what's the answer? Can you see how smart you're going to be? And it's like, yeah, you can see how smart you're going to be. And then if you go from left to right, you're going 40 plus 40, that's 80, times 0 is 0, plus 1. And someone said, well, because there's no parentheses, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. It's going to be PEMDAS. Okay, they're saying, you know, what is this type of stuff? But if I look at it and I write it out in English, 40 plus, and this is interesting, plus 0 groups of 40. Look at that, I even spelled 40 wrong. That's awesome. Fourthy. Go forth and give me some fourthy. I can just see that coming up on Game of Thrones next week. Okay, and if you look at how it's written, whenever you see multiplication, it's just groups of. And so 40 plus 0 groups of 40 plus 1. Well, 0 groups of 40 is just 0. And so this, in fact, becomes 40 plus 0 plus 1. And so that's literally what it's saying. If you put that into a calculator, it will give you the same type of answer. Okay, oh, and by the way, I've talked about Desmos in the syllabus. Desmos is amazing. It will catch your mistakes and definitely work with you on PEMDAS. So just make sure you take your time putting in the correct expression into Desmos. Okay, but that's exactly what order of operations is doing, is it takes our math, it translates it to English, and then it actually calculates it. Okay, now you're probably asking yourself, well, how does it know what to do for, I mean, what about parentheses? How is parentheses written? Okay, so let's go 30 times 3 plus 4. Or no, not 30, 3. 3 times 3 plus 4, but 3 plus 4 is in parentheses. So this would be 3 times the sum of 3 and 4. Okay? So it would be 3 times the sum. You're not timesing the 3, you're not timesing the 2 3's, and then adding the 4 at the end. You could do that, and then that would be a little bit different. So that would look like this. 3 times 3 plus 4, and that's written out in English as 3 times 3 plus 4. Okay? Alright? So those are the difference between those two. And the parentheses definitely tell you something. They definitely say something. They say, hey, you know what, do this first because we want to do this first. It just got written over here. It's just how we organized our information today. Okay, so this is order of operations is what is the expression saying. Okay, now evaluating the expression is what happens if I replace all of the variables with numbers and did order of operations. Now that looks suspiciously bad. Okay, what happens if I replace all the variables? So in other words, if I had 3x squared minus 5y plus 2z. Let's go cubed. Okay, first off, you couldn't do this, or you couldn't evaluate this expression even if you had to, unless you had the actual letter designation. So they would have to define the letters at the beginning. X equals 2, let's say y equals negative 4, and z equals 3. Okay? Alright, so what we basically do is we just replace the x with a 2, the y with a negative 4, and the z with a 3. Okay, and then you get this you get this actual expression written out for order of operations. So 3 times 2 squared minus 5 times negative 4 plus 2 times 3 cubed. Okay, all right. Now, if you did your order of operations, you would understand we have to square these because that's a little bit confusing to say 3 squared. You got to remember exponents stand for something. Here, let me get this off to the side. Okay, so what you would do first is you would rewrite it. So this becomes 3 times 4 minus 5 times, let's put parentheses around this negative 4. And just because I'm putting parentheses around the negative 4 doesn't mean I do it first. I'm not going to do anything because it's just one number. Okay, plus 2 times 27. Okay. All right, and don't feel bad if you had to get a calculator for that last one. You'll by the end of the year you'll be memorizing your cubes as well as your squares. Okay. All right, so everything's all set up. Now I can actually write it out. And remember, order of operations is just saying 3 times 4 minus the product of 5 and negative 4 plus the, oh geez, plus, I like how I'm writing back in math, plus the product of 2 and 27. Okay, and then you would just perform that, you would just work with it, and you could even replace this beginning part, this 3 times 4, you could replace that with the product of 3 and 4. Minus the product of 5 and negative 4 plus the product of 2 and 27. And that's probably the more proper way to do it. And you would sit there and you'd go, well, shoot, what is the product of 3 and 4? And basically, order of operations, when you write it out in English, helps you focus on the binary language that math is. When you're doing an operation, it's between two numbers. You just deal with those two numbers. You don't deal with extra stuff and mix in stuff, okay? Alright, you guys, that's pretty much it for this lesson. You guys have a wonderful day. And, oh, and I probably should start putting in the missing the lesson, missing the live lesson questions. So the question of the day is, well, no, we'll be okay with that. I'll answer that in the live lesson, okay? Alright, so watch this and see you at the live lesson. Bye.